They told us we only had to fly 25 missions. 25, and then we could go home. The odds of making it to 25 were about 1 in 4. I was a waist gunner on a B-17 flying fortress. Queen of the Skies, they called her. Part of the 391st Bomb Group, flying out of Framlingham in England. My crew called our bird Memphis Belle Jr. Dash, not the famous one, just a tribute. We thought the name would bring us luck. It didn't. My name's Jack Morrison, from Detroit. I was 19 years old when I enlisted in 1942. Wanted to fly, wanted to be a pilot. Thought it would be glamorous, soaring through the clouds, wearing those leather jackets, being a hero. They made me a gunner instead. Said I didn't have the aptitude for pilot training, but I had good reflexes and steady hands. Good enough to man a .50 caliber machine gun at 25,000 feet while German fighters tried to kill me. I arrived in England in January 1944. They put us through more training. How to operate in formation, how to use the oxygen equipment, how to handle the guns in sub-zero temperatures, how to bail out if we got hit, how to survive if we went down over Germany. They didn't tell us the real statistics, didn't tell us that the 8th Air Force was losing bombers and crews at a rate that was almost unsustainable, didn't tell us that some bomb groups lost their entire original complement of crews in just a few months. We figured it out on our own soon enough. I met my crew in January. 10 men who'd be flying together, living together, probably dying together. Our pilot was Lieutenant Tom Harris from Texas. Calm, competent, only 22, but seemed older. Co-pilot was Eddie Kowalski, navigator was Jimmy Chen, bombardier was Mike Sullivan. Engineer gunner was Hank Peterson. Radio operator was Danny Walsh. Ball turret gunner was the smallest guy, Bobby Martinez from New Mexico. Tail gunner was Sam Foster, and me and Charlie Bennett on the waist guns. We bonded fast, had to. Our lives depended on each other. Our first mission briefing was in February 1944. Target, Frankfurt. Industrial center. Heavy flak expected. Fighter opposition probable. I remember sitting in that briefing room looking at the map with the red string showing our route into Germany, looking at all the other crews. Some of them were on their 20th mission, 22nd. Old hands, veterans. They had this look in their eyes, this hollow 1,000-yard stare, like they'd seen things they couldn't unsee. I didn't understand it then. Charlie leaned over to me. "You scared?" "Terrified," I admitted. He grinned, but it was forced. "Yeah, me too." We walked to our bomber in the pre-dawn darkness. She was beautiful in a lethal sort of way. 4 massive engines bristling with guns, painted olive drab with our nose art. Memphis Belle Jr. in bright yellow letters. I climbed through the waist hatch, took my position at the left waist gun. The metal was cold even through my gloves. Everything smelled like oil and metal and fear. The engines started one by one. That deep rumble, I could feel it in my chest. Lieutenant Harris came over the intercom. "Okay, boys, this is it. Stay sharp, watch for fighters, and we'll all get back for breakfast tomorrow." I believed him. I was 19 and stupid, and I believed we'd all make it back. That was my first mistake. The takeoff was the easy part. 36 B-17s from our group, all roaring down the runway one after another. The weight of a fully loaded bomber, fuel, bombs, ammunition, made every takeoff feel like it shouldn't work. Like we were too heavy to fly. But we did. Always did. Lifted off into the gray English morning and climbed into formation. That's when you'd see the whole armada, not just our group, but hundreds of bombers. B-17S and B-24s stretching across the sky as far as you could see. Fighter escorts, too. P-47 Thunderbolts at first, later P-51 Mustangs. The whole formation looked invincible. It wasn't. We crossed the channel at 0800 hours. The English coast disappeared behind us, and then there was nothing but water, and then the coast of occupied Europe. That's when it got real. When you realized you were flying into enemy territory in a big, slow aluminum target. Pilot to crew, we're entering hostile airspace. Stay alert. I checked my gun for the 100th time, pulled back the charging handle, made sure the ammunition belt fed smoothly. Charlie across from me at the right waist gun was doing the same thing. We didn't talk. What was there to say? The flak started over France, little black puffs appearing in the sky around us. Seemed almost harmless at first, just clouds of smoke. Then one burst close enough that I could hear it over the engine noise. Metal fragments punched through the fuselage. A hole appeared in the wall 3 feet from my head. "Jesus Christ!" Charlie yelled. "Flak in the formation," someone called over the intercom. Might have been Hank in the top turret. More black puffs. The bomber shook with near misses. One burst right under us, and the whole plane lurched. I grabbed onto anything I could hold. A B-17 to our right took a direct hit. The number 3 engine just exploded. Pieces of the cowling flew off. The plane started trailing smoke, but stayed in formation. Tough sons of bitches, these fortresses. Could take a beating, but not always. We were maybe 30 minutes from the target when the German fighters showed up. "Fighters! 2 o'clock high." I swung my gun around, searching the sky. Then I saw them, Focke-Wulf 190s, coming in fast, maybe a dozen of them. They dove through our formation, guns blazing. I opened fire. So did everyone else. The sound was deafening. Every gun in the formation firing at once. Tracers filling the sky. Spent shell casings bouncing around the waist compartment, burning hot. A 190 came straight at us, head-on attack. I could see the muzzle flashes from his guns. Could see the rounds walking toward us. I fired back, long burst, praying I'd hit something. He flashed past so close I could see the pilot's face. "We hit?" Harris called. "Tail's okay," Sam reported. "Ball's okay," Bobby said from the ball turret. Then I looked out the waist window and saw the bomber behind us. A 190 had raked it from nose to tail. The cockpit was shattered. The number 2 engine was on fire. And even as I watched, men started bailing out, tiny figures tumbling through the sky, parachutes blossoming. I counted 7 chutes. The crew was 10 men. 3 didn't make it out. The crippled bomber started falling, spinning, breaking apart. I watched pieces of it flutter down like leaves. That was the first one I saw go down. Not the last. The fighters kept coming, wave after wave. They'd learned that attacking from the front was most effective. The B-17 had the least firepower facing forward. So they'd come in head-on, guns blazing, then break away at the last second. Our nose gunner and bombardier were firing constantly. So was everyone else. The air was thick with tracers and smoke and the smell of cordite. Another bomber got hit. This one just exploded. 1 second it was there. The next it was just a ball of fire and debris. No parachutes. 10 men gone in an instant. "Stay in formation." Harris's voice, tense but controlled. "Tighten it up." The closer we stayed together, the more guns we could bring to bear. Mutual protection. But it also meant we were flying through the debris of planes that went down. I saw a piece of wing tumble past us. Saw something that might have been a body. Charlie was hit. I didn't see it happen. Just heard him scream and turned to see him slumped against the fuselage, blood spreading across his jacket. "Charlie." I left my gun, stumbled across the shaking aircraft. He was conscious, clutching his shoulder. Blood everywhere. "How bad?" he gasped. I ripped open his jacket. Shrapnel wound, looked like. Bad, but not fatal if I could stop the bleeding. "You'll live," I told him. "Stay down." I wrapped it as best I could with the first aid kit. All while the plane bucked and shook and the guns kept firing and the fighters kept coming. Then we reached the initial point, the turn toward the target. The bombardier took control. Bomb bay doors open. This was the worst part. The bombing run. We had to fly straight and level for several minutes while the bombardier lined up on the target. No evasion, no maneuvering. Just flying through the flak while German gunners tried to kill us. The flak was thick over Frankfurt. So thick you could almost walk on it. Black clouds filling the sky. The sound of metal hitting metal all around us. More holes appearing in the fuselage. The plane shaking constantly. I got back to my gun because Charlie couldn't man his anymore. Watched another bomber take a direct hit in the bomb bay. It just disintegrated. Thousands of pounds of bombs detonating. The flash was so bright it hurt to look at. Bombs away! The plane lurched upward, suddenly lighter. We banked away from the target, back into formation. The mission was half over. Now we just had to make it home. But we still had 300 miles of hostile territory to cross, and the fighters were waiting. The flight back was worse than the flight in. We were shot up, bleeding fuel, down one waist gunner. And the Luftwaffe wasn't done with us. They hit us again over Belgium. Me 109S this time. They'd figured out our weak spots, worked on stragglers and damaged aircraft. A bomber flying alone was a dead bomber. We weren't alone, but we were struggling. Number 3 engine had taken damage, wasn't producing full power. We were falling behind the formation, gradually at first, then more noticeably. Come on, baby, Harris was saying. Stay with us. But physics doesn't care about wanting. We kept dropping back, slower, lower, further from the protective guns of the formation. The 109 saw it, circled us like sharks. Fighters, 6 o'clock level. Sam in the tail opened up. I could hear his guns through the aircraft. Then Bobby in the ball turret. Then me. All of us firing at once, trying to drive them off. 1109 made a pass, cannon shells walking up our fuselage. I felt the impacts, heard the screaming of metal. Something in the radio room got hit. I could hear Danny yelling, but couldn't make out the words over the noise. Another fighter came in from 3 o'clock. I swung my gun, led him, fired. Saw my tracers connect, saw pieces fly off his wing. He broke off trailing smoke. I got him, I shouted. I got the son of a bitch. First kill. Should have felt good. Felt nothing. Just relief that he wasn't shooting at us anymore. But there were more. Always more. They hit our number 2 engine. Oil sprayed across the wing, black and thick. Harris feathered the prop before it could catch fire. Now we were down to 2 engines on the right side, one on the left. The asymmetric thrust made the plane want to roll. Harris and Eddie fighting the controls constantly just to keep us level. We're not going to make it back, Eddie said over the intercom. Didn't mean to key the mic, probably. Everyone heard it anyway. Shut up, Harris said. We're making it back, all of us. But I could hear the strain in his voice, could feel the plane struggling. We were losing altitude, slowly but steadily, down to 18,000 feet, 17,000, 16,000. I looked out and saw the formation above us, pulling away, saw them getting smaller. We were alone now. A crippled bomber over occupied territory with German fighters circling. The next attack came from below, 2 109s climbing up at us. Bobby and the ball turret engaged them, but the angle was bad. They raked our belly with cannon fire. The intercom went crazy with damage reports. Fire in the bomb bay. Number 4's losing oil pressure. Radio's dead. I'm hit. That was Hank, the flight engineer. Jesus Christ, I'm hit. I couldn't leave my gun. Charlie was down. Sam and Bobby were the only other gunners. If I left my position, we'd be defenseless on the left side. But Hank was screaming. I made the choice. Left the gun. Climbed up to the top turret position. Found Hank slumped in his seat, blood everywhere. He'd taken 20-millimeter cannon shells through the turret. His left arm was mangled. Maybe gone. Hard to tell with all the blood. I got a tourniquet on him, gave him morphine from the first aid kit. He was going into shock, skin pale and clammy, kept saying, "I'm cold," over and over. "You're okay," I lied. "You're gonna be okay." A shadow passed over us. I looked up through the turret glass and saw a 109 above us, just sitting there, watching, waiting. He could have killed us easily. We were helpless. But he just waggled his wings and peeled off. Maybe he was out of ammunition. Maybe he figured we were dead anyway. Maybe he just got tired of killing. I'll never know. We made it to the channel, barely. 2 engines, hydraulic system shot to hell, half the crew wounded. But we made it. "Gear down," Harris ordered. Nothing happened. "Gear's not responding," Eddie reported. "Hydraulics are gone." "Hand crank it." They cranked the gear down manually, got the mains locked. The nose wheel wouldn't extend. We'd have to land on 2 wheels and the nose. I could see England now. Beautiful, green, safe England. We'd made it back. Almost. The runway came up fast. Harris brought us in smooth despite everything. The mains touched down. We rolled. Then the nose came down, scraped along the runway in a shower of sparks and screaming metal. We slid for what felt like forever. Finally stopped. "Everybody out, now." We scrambled, got Charlie out, got Hank out, fell out onto the English grass and just lay there. Above us, Memphis Belle Jr. was smoking, damaged, broken. But we were down. We were alive. All 10 of us made it back from that first mission. 9 other bombers from our group didn't. 90 men. Some bailed out and became POWs. Some died in the explosions. Some went down with their planes over Germany. 1 mission down, 24 to go. That night in the barracks, nobody talked much. Charlie and Hank were in the hospital. The rest of us just sat on our bunks, staring at nothing. I couldn't stop shaking, couldn't get warm despite the stove. Kept seeing that bomber explode, kept seeing the faces of the crews that went down. "First one's the hardest," Lieutenant Harris said. He was sitting on his bunk, still in his flight suit, smoking a cigarette. His hands were steady, but his eyes looked old. "Does it get easier?" I asked. He took a long drag, exhaled slowly. "No, you just get better at pretending it does." The next morning, they posted the mission roster. We weren't on it. Memphis Belle Jr. needed repairs. We got 2 days off. I should have been relieved. Instead, I felt guilty, like I was abandoning the other crews, like taking a break meant I was weak. I watched them take off that morning. 36 bombers. That night, 31 came back. 5 more didn't make it. The empty bunks in the barracks grew. New crews arrived to replace losses. Fresh-faced kids who looked at us veterans, 1 mission veterans, with awe. We'd been in combat. We'd survived. We knew things they didn't. We knew how easily you could die, how random it was, how the flak didn't care how brave you were or how skilled your pilot was, how a piece of shrapnel the size of your thumb could kill you instantly, how being in a bomber under attack was like being in a flying coffin made of aluminum foil. They'd learn, if they survived long enough. Charlie came back from the hospital after a week. Shrapnel had been removed, wound cleaned, arm in a sling. He should have been grounded. He volunteered to fly anyway. "Can't let you guys have all the fun," he said. But there was no humor in it, just that hollow look we were all developing. Hank didn't come back. Lost his arm. Got sent stateside. Lucky bastard. He'd never fly again, but he'd live. They assigned us a new flight engineer. Kid named Roberts from Ohio. Eager, competent, didn't know enough to be afraid yet. By the time we flew our second mission, I'd learned something important, something they don't tell you in training. Every mission you die a little, A piece of your soul stays up there at 25,000 feet, frozen and terrified and convinced you're about to die, and you never get it back. After the first mission, I wasn't the same kid from Detroit anymore. I'd seen too much, learned too much about how fragile life is, how quickly it can end. And I had 24 more missions to go, if I lasted that long. Missions 2 through 15 blur together in my memory. Same routine, different targets. Briefing at 0400, takeoff at 0600. Formation assembly, cross the channel, flak, fighters, bomb run, more flak, more fighters. If you're lucky, you make it home. If you're lucky. We lost Roberts on mission 7. Direct flak hit on the top turret. 1 second he was there, calling out fighters. The next second, there was just blood and smoke and pieces. We flew the rest of that mission with his body still up there because there was nowhere else to put it. I stopped learning the new crew members' names after that. Why get attached? They'd just die anyway. Mission 8 was Schweinfurt, ball-bearing factories, deep penetration into Germany. They told us it was a critical target, that destroying it would cripple German industry. What they didn't tell us was that the Luftwaffe would throw everything they had at us. That we'd lose 60 bombers that day, 600 men. We made it back, barely. Number 4 engine shot out, hydraulics gone again, half the tail section blown away. Sam, the tail gunner, was hit bad, shrapnel in the legs and chest. We did what we could for him, but he bled out somewhere over France. Died calling for his mother. 22 years old, from Georgia. Had a girl back home. I'd seen her picture. We buried him in England. Me and Charlie and Bobby and the rest of the crew. Stood there in the rain while the chaplain said words that didn't mean anything. Another cross in another row. They assigned us a new tail gunner. Didn't bother learning his name. By mission 10, something had changed in all of us. We weren't scared anymore, weren't excited, weren't anything, just numb, going through the motions, climbing into the bomber, flying into hell, coming back, or not. The odds caught up with you eventually. Everyone knew it. It was just math. 1 in 4 crews made it to 25 missions. The rest died or got shot down or cracked up mentally. Some guys broke, just couldn't do it anymore, refused to fly. They called it LMF, lack of moral fiber, cowardice. They'd get court-martialed, dishonorably discharged, branded as cowards for the rest of their lives. But I understood it. Understood reaching that point where you just couldn't climb into the bomber one more time. Couldn't face the flak and the fighters and the knowledge that today might be the day you don't come back. We had a pilot in another crew, good guy, flew 11 missions, who just broke down on the hard stand before mission 12. Started screaming, crying, had to be physically removed from his aircraft. They took him away, and we never saw him again. His crew flew without him. New pilot. They went down on mission 13, shot down over Hamburg. No shoots. I started having nightmares, same one every night. I'm in the waist gun position, and we take a hit. The bomber starts going down. I try to bail out, but I'm stuck. Can't move, can't reach the parachute. Just trapped there while we spin toward the ground. I'd wake up screaming. So would Charlie. So would half the barracks. Nobody talked about it. Mission 12 was Berlin. Big raid. Hundreds of bombers. The flak over Berlin was the worst I'd ever seen. So thick it looked like you could walk on it. Black clouds filling the sky, each one filled with hot metal fragments. I watched a bomber take a direct hit right in front of us. Just disintegrated. 1 second it was there, the next it was pieces falling. I saw one of the waist gunners tumbling through the sky. He didn't have a chute, just falling, knowing he was falling, having minutes to think about it before he hit. What does that feel like? Falling from 25,000 feet, knowing you're dead but still alive, still conscious, still aware. I think about that a lot. We started developing superstitions. I wore the same socks on every mission. Charlie had a picture of his girl he'd kiss before takeoff. Bobby wouldn't shave on mission days. Lieutenant Harris had a lucky strike he'd put behind his ear but never smoke. Stupid rituals, like they meant anything. Like they could protect us from 88mm flak shells or 20mm cannon rounds. But we did them anyway because they gave us the illusion of control. The reality was we had no control, none. We were just sitting in thin aluminum tubes while people tried to kill us. Our survival was pure chance, random, meaningless. By mission 15, half our original barracks were gone, dead or POW or sent home too damaged to fly. The new guys looked at us like we were ghosts. Maybe we were. There was a moment, mission 14, I think, when I realized I didn't care anymore. Didn't care if we made it back. Didn't care if we got hit. Didn't care about anything. Just going through the motions because that's what you do. We were over Cologne. Flak heavy. A burst went off right next to my position. I felt the shrapnel hit the fuselage next to my head. Felt the heat. Saw the holes appear in the metal. Didn't flinch. Didn't react. Just kept scanning for fighters like always. Charlie looked at me later. That was close. Yeah, I said. Felt nothing. That's when you know something's broken inside you. When near death doesn't even register anymore. When you're so numb that nothing reaches you. The worst missions weren't the ones where we got shot up. Those were just physical damage. You could repair aircraft, replace engines, patch holes. The worst were the ones where you watched other crews die, where you saw the bombers go down, where you counted the parachutes and did the math and knew that 5 men didn't make it out, or 7, or all 10, where you saw guys you'd played cards with the night before fall burning from the sky. We lost our entire sister crew on mission 16, Lucky Lady, ironic name in retrospect. Took a direct hit in the bomb bay. Bombs cooked off. The explosion took out 2 other bombers in the formation. 30 men dead in 3 seconds. I'd had breakfast with their waist gunner that morning. Shared coffee. Talked about home. 8 hours later, he was vapor. Their bunks were empty that night. New crew moved in the next day. Fresh faces, eager, didn't know they were sleeping in dead men's beds. Give them a few missions. They'd figure it out. The officers told us we were winning. That our bombing was destroying German industry, crippling their war machine, that every mission brought victory closer. Maybe it was true. Didn't feel like winning. Felt like dying slowly. Felt like feeding men and machines into a meat grinder that never stopped. But we kept flying. What else could we do? You didn't get to quit. Didn't get to say you'd had enough. You flew until you finished your 25, or you died, or you broke. Those were the only options. I was on mission 17 when I realized I probably wouldn't make it to 25. The math was against me. The odds were clear. Statistically, I should have been dead already. Every mission after 15 was borrowed time, living on luck that would eventually run out. I stopped thinking about after the war, stopped making plans, stopped imagining going home, because imagining a future made it hurt more when you died. Better to just focus on the next mission, just the next one. Don't think beyond that. Don't hope, don't dream. Just survive the next 6 hours. And then do it again tomorrow, if there was a tomorrow. Mission 23, Merseburg, oil refineries. I remember thinking that morning, just 2 more. 2 more missions and I'm done. 2 more and I can go home. 2 more and I survive. I should have known better. The briefing was grim. Deep penetration, expected heavy resistance, probable fighter opposition. Translation: a lot of us aren't coming back. Lieutenant Harris was quiet during pre-flight. We all were. Charlie's hands shook when he checked his gun. Bobby threw up before climbing into the ball turret. These were bad signs. After 22 missions, nothing should shake you anymore. If you're still feeling fear, It means your instincts know something your brain doesn't. The flight in was routine. By Mission 23, you knew what routine meant. Only moderate flak, only a few fighter attacks, only 1 or 2 bombers lost in the formation. Routine. The target area was different. The flak was the worst I'd ever seen. Worse than Berlin. Worse than Schweinfurt. The Germans knew we were coming. Must have had radar warning. And every 88 battery in the region was firing. The sky was black with bursts. Our bomber shook constantly. Metal fragments punched through the fuselage in dozens of places. I could feel the impacts through my feet, hear them over the engine roar. A bomber ahead of us took a direct hit, right in the cockpit. The nose just disintegrated. The plane nosed over immediately, started its death dive. I counted 3 parachutes. 7 men died with that aircraft. "Steady," Harris said over the intercom. His voice was tight. "We're almost there. Steady." The bomb run seemed to last forever, flying straight and level through that hell, shells bursting all around us, the smell of cordite and hydraulic fluid and fear. Bombs away. We banked away from the target, started the turn for home. Almost done, almost safe. That's when they hit us. Not flak. Fighters. A whole squadron of them. ME-19s and FW-19s mixed. They must have been waiting. Held back until we were at our most vulnerable, just coming off the bomb run. They came out of the sun. A classic attack. Our gunners opened up, but there were too many. Way too many. I saw the first one line up on us, saw the flashes from his guns, felt the impact, heard Charlie scream. I turned. Charlie was down, hit multiple times across the chest. His gun was torn apart. He was on the deck, blood pooling around him. "Charlie!" I left my gun, crawled to him. He was still conscious, eyes wide, hands pressed to his chest, trying to stop the bleeding. But there was too much, too many holes. "Jack," he gasped. "Jack, I can't breathe." "You're okay," I lied. Another lie to another dying man. "You're going to be okay. Tell Susan." He was trying to say something. About his girl back home. But he couldn't get the words out. Blood filled his mouth. His eyes went distant. He died holding my hand, just like so many others had died holding the hands of their friends. Just slipped away while I watched helplessly. I don't know how long I stayed there. Seconds, minutes. Time stopped meaning anything. "Jack, get on your gun," Harris was shouting. "We need every gun." I couldn't move, couldn't think. Charlie was dead. My friend was dead. We'd flown together since England. 23 missions, survived everything. And now he was dead, and I was alive, and it didn't make sense. Another impact. The bomber lurched. Something in the back exploded. "We're hit," Bobby from the ball turret. "Number 2's on fire." I looked out the waist window. Number 2 engine was trailing flame. Black smoke pouring out. Harris feathered it, but the fire wasn't going out. Fire suppression's not working. That was Jimmy the navigator. It's spreading to the wing tank. If the fire reached the fuel, we'd explode, just like all the others. Just disappear in a ball of flame. "Prepare to bail out," Harris ordered. I looked at Charlie's body. Couldn't leave him. Couldn't just abandon him up here. "Jack, move your ass." Someone was pulling me. Bobby, maybe. Or the new tail gunner, whose name I never learned. Pulling me toward the waist door. "I can't leave him." "He's dead. We're all going to be dead. Move." The fire was spreading. I could see it through the waist window. Orange flames eating through the aluminum. The whole wing was going to go. I grabbed my parachute with numb hands, clipped it on. The training took over. Automatic. Survival instinct. Go. G-O. Go. Bodies moving toward the exits. I was at the waist door, kicked it open. The wind hit me like a physical force. Below was Germany, enemy territory. If I jumped, I'd be a prisoner. If I didn't, I'd burn. I jumped. The fall was surreal, tumbling through space. No up, no down. Just falling. I pulled the ripcord, felt the chute deploy. The opening shock jerked me hard. Then silence. Incredible silence after the noise of the bomber. Just the wind and my own breathing. I looked up. Memphis Belle Jr. was still flying, still on fire, still doomed. I could see other parachutes, white flowers blooming in the sky. Counted them. 5, 6, 7, including me. 3 didn't make it out. I watched our bomber, watched it fall. The wing broke off first. Then the fuselage started tumbling, end over end. Charlie was still in there, still strapped to the deck where he died. The bomber hit the ground maybe 10 miles away. Big explosion, fireball rising into the sky. Then I was alone, floating down toward Germany, toward capture, toward whatever came next. German soldiers were waiting when I landed. Wehrmacht regulars. They weren't rough, just searched me, took my weapon, started marching me toward their lines. I didn't resist, didn't fight. What was the point? I was numb, empty. Charlie was dead. Our whole crew was scattered or dead or captured. Memphis Belle Jr. was gone. 23 missions. I'd made it to 23. 2 away from going home. The breaking point wasn't the crash, wasn't getting shot down, wasn't even Charlie dying in my arms. It was the realization that none of it mattered, that all the missions, all the death, all the suffering, it was all just random. Charlie died on 23. I lived. No reason, no justice, just chance. That's when something inside me cracked, not broke, cracked. Like a glass that's damaged but still holds together. But you know it's compromised. Know it'll never be whole again. They took me to a POW camp, Stalag Luft 3. Spent the rest of the war there. 9 months behind wire. Should have been relieved. Safe, out of the war. But I wasn't out. Not really. Every night I flew mission 23 again. Every night Charlie died in my arms. Every night I watched Memphis Belle Jr. fall burning from the sky. The other POWs talked about the future, about going home when the war ended, about what they'd do, who they'd see, how they'd live. I couldn't think that way, couldn't see past the wire, couldn't imagine existing in a world that wasn't defined by death and loss and random chance. The war ended in May 1945. Russians liberated our camp. They processed us, shipped us home. I stepped off a plane in New York in June. American soil, safe, alive. Should have felt like victory, felt like nothing, just numb, empty, broken. Charlie didn't come home. Neither did Roberts or Sam or Hank Sam or any of the hundreds of others from our bomb group who died over Germany. Just me, and I wasn't even whole. It's 1950 now. 5 years since the war ended. I'm 27 years old, but I feel like I've lived 100 years. All of them bad. I came back to Detroit in the summer of 45. My parents met me at the train station. My mother cried. My father shook my hand, said he was proud. Neighbors threw a welcome home party. Everyone wanted to hear about the war. Wanted stories about flying, about bombing Germany, about being a hero. I couldn't give them what they wanted. Couldn't tell them about Charlie dying in my arms, about watching bombers full of men explode, about the randomness of who lived and who died, about how I was only alive because of dumb luck, and that didn't make me a hero, it made me a survivor, and there's a difference. So I made things up, told them what they wanted to hear. The sanitized version, the Hollywood version. They seemed satisfied, but I wasn't. I'm still not. I tried to go back to my old life. Got a job at the Ford plant. Assembly line work. Simple. Mindless. Clock in, work 8 hours, clock out. Should have been fine. But I couldn't handle the noise. The pneumatic hammers, the metal stamping. It sounded like flak bursts. I'd freeze up, flash back to the bomber, to the sounds of metal tearing, of men dying. Lasted 3 weeks before I had a complete breakdown on the factory floor. Just collapsed. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't function. They had to carry me out. The doctors called it combat fatigue. Said it would fade with time. Said I just needed rest. They were wrong. The nightmares never stopped. 5 years later, and I still dream about Mission 23 every single night. Still watch Charlie die. Still feel the bomber shaking apart around me. Still hear the screaming. I wake up shouting his name. Wake up with my hands moving like they're trying to stop bleeding that isn't there. Wake up soaked in sweat, heart pounding, convinced I'm still at 25,000 feet over Germany. Sometimes I can't tell if I'm awake or asleep. Can't tell if I'm in my apartment in Detroit or in the waist gun position. The line between then and now gets blurry. I can't be around loud noises. Can't go to the movies. The sound is too much. Can't be in crowds. Too many people, too close. Feels like being trapped in the bomber. Can't be in enclosed spaces. Can't be in open spaces. Can't be anywhere without feeling like I'm about to die. 4th of July is hell. The fireworks sound like flak. I spend every Independence Day locked in my apartment with the curtains drawn and my hands over my ears. Even then I can hear them. Each explosion takes me back. I tried dating, met a nice girl in 47, Mary, sweet, patient, tried to understand. But how could she? How could anyone who wasn't there understand what it's like to have your best friend die in your arms at 25,000 feet? To watch men burn, to know that your survival was pure chance and means nothing. She left after 6 months. Said I wasn't really there. Said it was like dating a ghost. She was right. I've been alone ever since. Safer that way. Can't hurt anyone else with my brokenness. I found the other survivors. Lieutenant Harris made it home, flew his 25, lives in Texas now. We exchange letters sometimes. He doesn't talk about the war. Neither do I. What's there to say? Bobby Martinez came home, too. Last I heard, he was in a VA hospital in California. Drank himself nearly to death trying to forget. Can't blame him. I've tried the same thing. Eddie Kowalski, our co-pilot, didn't make it. Shot down on Mission 24. 1 away from going home. Became a POW like me, but didn't survive the camp. Died 3 weeks before liberation. Pneumonia. After everything, after all those missions, he died of pneumonia behind wire. Jimmy Chen made it to 25, went home, shot himself in 1947. Left a note that said he was tired of the nightmares, tired of the guilt, tired of being alive when so many others were dead. I understand that. I understand it more than I should. I tried to visit Charlie's family in 46, went to his hometown, knocked on his parents' door. His mother answered. I told her who I was, that I'd flown with Charlie, that I was with him when he died. She wanted details, wanted to know if he suffered, if he said anything, if he was brave. I lied, told her he died instantly, told her he didn't feel anything, told her his last words were about her and his father and Susan, his girl. Truth was he died gasping for air with blood in his mouth. Died scared and in pain and far from home. But I couldn't tell her that. Couldn't give her that truth. She thanked me. Said it brought her comfort. Said she was glad someone was there with him at the end. Said she was grateful he had a friend there. I left and threw up in the street. Couldn't handle it. Couldn't handle the weight of being the one who survived, the one who had to carry the memories, the one who had to lie to grieving mothers. The thing about surviving is that it doesn't feel like winning. It feels like theft, like I stole their lives by continuing to breathe, like every day I wake up is a day they don't get. And for what? So I can work meaningless jobs and have nightmares and exist in this half-life that isn't really living. What was the point of it all? We bombed Germany. We destroyed their industry. We helped win the war. Good, fine, necessary. But what did it cost? Thousands of bombers lost, tens of thousands of airmen dead, tens of thousands more like me, alive but broken, walking wounded who will never be whole again. And for what? So I can live in an apartment in Detroit and work odd jobs and flinch at loud noises and dream about dead friends? That's not victory. That's just survival. And survival isn't the same as living. People see the uniform and they see a hero. They see someone who served his country, who fought for freedom, who did something brave and important. They don't see the nightmares. Don't see the way I can't hold down a job or maintain a relationship or function in normal society. Don't see that I'm 27 but feel 60. That I'm alive but not living. That I came home but I'm not really here. I'm still at 25,000 feet. Still in that bomber. Still watching Charlie die. Still falling through the German sky, knowing everything is over. I never left that moment. I'm still there. Will always be there. They say time heals all wounds. It's been 5 years. The wounds are just as fresh as they were the day I landed in Germany, the day Charlie died, the day Memphis Bell Jr. fell from the sky. I don't think they'll ever heal. I think this is just what I am now, what the war made me. A broken thing that looks like a man but isn't. Not really. Not anymore. The kid from Detroit who wanted to fly, who thought war would be an adventure, who believed in heroes and glory. He died somewhere over Germany. Maybe on Mission 1 when we first saw bombers explode. Maybe on Mission 7 when Roberts died. Maybe on Mission 23 when Charlie bled out in my arms. Doesn't matter when. Just matters that he's gone. That innocent kid is dead. And what's left is this hollow thing that knows too much about death and not enough about how to live. I made it to Mission 23. 2 away from going home. 2 away from finishing my tour. So close. But I never finished. Never got to 25. Never got to say I made it. Just got shot down and captured and broken. And even if I had made it to 25, even if I'd completed the tour and flown home a hero, I don't think it would have mattered. Because the damage was already done. The breaking had already happened. 25 missions or 23, I still would have been broken. We were all broken. Everyone who flew those missions, everyone who survived. We just broke in different ways. Some broke, obviously, like the guys who refused to fly, who cracked up, who ended up in hospitals or drunk or dead by their own hand. Others broke quietly, like me, still functioning, still going through the motions, but dead inside, hollow, ghosts pretending to be alive. They told us we only had to fly 25 missions. 25 and we could go home. They didn't tell us that even if we survived, we'd never really come home. That part of us would stay up there forever, trapped at 25,000 feet. Trapped in those moments of terror and loss and random death. I'm sitting here in my apartment in Detroit in 1950, 5 years after the war, safe, alive, free. But I'm not here, not really. I'm still in Memphis Bell Jr., still at my waist gun position, still watching bombers fall and friends die and the sky fill with flak. Still falling through the German sky, still dying just slowly. 23 missions. That's all I flew. Just 23. Didn't make it to 25. Didn't finish my tour. But it was enough. More than enough. Enough to break me. enough to kill the person I was, enough to turn me into this thing that survives but doesn't live. I'm 27 years old. I'll probably live another 40 or 50 years. That's not a life. That's a sentence. They say the B-17 was a flying fortress, built to take damage and keep flying, built to survive. I survived too, but I'm not flying anymore. I'm not doing anything, just existing, just carrying the weight of all those missions, all those deaths, all that random, meaningless loss. Charlie died on mission 23. I'm still dying from it. We never came home from that war. We're all still up there, still at 25,000 feet, still falling, still waiting to hit the ground.